me start recording, and we're recording. Okay. Now, hopefully I see Arturo. Hopefully he can hear me. He's saying, is anybody home? And I'm going to type in something about if you cannot hear me, go to communicate in the main menu. And choose audio broadcast. Okay. Hopefully that would help Arturo. Okay, so let me get started. I mentioned that I'm recording this. So let me go ahead and start by sharing my desktop. Of course, the main thing I have open is OptionVue. Maybe I'll just go for a moment. I'll open a browser here and go to our website, OptionVue.com. It's kind of slow, I see. Our internet's a little slow. One thing I wanted to mention was right on our front page here, we do have this webinar schedule that shows the upcoming webinars for the week. And down here there is the full calendar of upcoming events. But more importantly, there is the view archived recordings of past events. If you click on that, it'll open a new window. And for those of you who aren't familiar with this site, here's where we post all of our recordings. So here you can do it by category, which is OptionVue Essentials. All the OptionVue Essentials that we've done, which is all focused on using the software. We do these every Thursday at 3. We have the Discover Options Mentor Series every Monday at 1, where we rotate through our various mentors from our Discover Options education. And these are all focused more on actual trading ideas, concepts, strategies. And we do have some OptionVue how-tos, mostly done by our head of tech support, Jeremy Truelove, and it gives you some ideas on how to do things, such as if you're trying to sync computers, how to copy files from one to another, how to use Dropbox, just how to download and install OptionVue. So you can always come here and look at this. Go back to OptionVue now, and I'll just go ahead and start. I kind of wanted to do something a little different. I work with a lot of our customers, and instead of just focusing on one particular thing, I was thinking of just going through and trying to show some of the things that would be useful to people that they probably are not aware exist in the program or don't know how to use it. Then I realized after talking to many people, the one place to start is probably the quotes display, of course, because that's the first thing you see when you come up. You can always format it however you want. And, of course, I have different groups here, and you can set up more than one tab. How I keep my quotes display set up is I do have just all the equity indexes up at the top. Some of them are actually ETFs, like the gold and silver. Then I have a group that's set up just for an account that I manage. This is actually something, the Nova dividends, I was just looking at making sure the dividends are coming in properly on those, so I wouldn't normally have that group on here. VXX trading, this is for our VXX trading tools. These are all the different indexes and information that's available if you're doing our VXX trading tools. And then I just have a long list of stocks. They're all the most liquid stocks or stocks that just people would trade. I guess I probably keep 150 on here. If you look through these names, you would see they'd all be ones that probably any hedge fund that has big positions would probably have a position in every one of these practically. And then I do keep another tab where I keep all my futures. My futures are split between equity futures, the grains, the softs at the Intercontinental Exchange, which unfortunately our vendor's been having problems with lately. Some miscellaneous commodities, metals, currencies, energies, and interest rate products. So we'll go back occasionally and look at the comments. If people want to type in a comment or a question as we go along, I'll try to keep up and answer them as I go along. I don't see any yet. So I just wanted to point out that here's the quotes display. Now one thing is you can close it, and sometimes people do close it, and you just see this blank workspace. There's nothing in it. And of course then many people are unsure, where'd my quote display go? How do I get it back? So that would always be under window here. If you go to window, the last choice is always quotes display, and that will open it and bring it back up. Somewhere along those same lines, if you happen to somehow get under this window, you can also hide the main toolbar. That gives you a little more room if you need it, or sometimes people would use it for if they're taking pictures and they're trying to get every inch of real estate they can. But again, under window, if you've hidden it, the very first choice is going to be show toolbar. Now, I'll also mention that if you're in a matrix, over here, if I hover it, you'll see that there's also a possibility in a matrix to hide the matrix toolbar. Here, I'll just restore it down so you can see it as a single window. So this button here hides or restores the matrix toolbar. So if you ever notice that's missing and you don't know how to get it back, it's right over here. Now, as I mentioned, as I started thinking about what don't people use, actually, especially even with professional traders, what I've been amazed at is that most people really use the quotes display as their main page, and they do everything from it, including their positions. So if they have positions in an asset, like for example, they'll keep it much like I do here for this account. It's the KSC Charities account. Everything in here are my positions, so if I want to see what I have, this particular account actually doesn't trade options. It's only equities and fixed income, CDs, and things. So you can see I have 1,100 shares of the Qs. And I noticed that that's how an awful lot of our customers follow their positions. Now, one nice thing about being in any list, whether it's the quotes display or I'll show it in other places like the status, Trade Finder survey, OpScan, any kind of list, is this browse feature. I don't see that being used a lot, and I use it every day. I think it's the most useful feature we got. And here, if I choose the first one in this group and open the matrix, so here's my first position, all I have to do is hit next. And I can start running through all my matrices and look at all my positions and where I'm at. See, this one is actually a money market that's priced at $1, so we're not getting a quote on that. This one's actually a CD. So I will mention that if you want to suspend quotes like I just did, because I didn't want those updated and overwritten with nothing, you can always double click on this green ball and S will appear and quotes will stop flowing in. As soon as you double click again, quotes will begin flowing in again. Now I keep going. I'm at DVY, EFA, and now I'm back to the Qs. you'll see as I browse through this list, it hit the end of the list and bounced back to the top of this group. So you can't just browse through the whole quotes display if it's split into groups. However, if you're down here on the last one in the group and you want to switch to the next group, if you hold down the control key and hit next, it will go to the next one. And now you can begin doing the next group. You'll see NRZ, which is not optionable, was the next one. So quotes display is useful for looking at the market overall and just groups of assets that you're interested in. But really when you're trading, most of the time what you're really interested in is your positions. And for that, you should be using the account status. And I think this account status is the single most useful window besides the quotes display and OptionVue. I'm always in here. You can do much of your work from here. And it seems like an awful lot of people, I'm amazed, they might have been using the program for years and they don't even know where this window is. You ask them to open the status, they're like, what is the status? So I've been amazed at that. So here it lists all my open positions. This is the kind of format I like, where it shows the open date, original price I bought it at, how much it cost overall for the entire position, the current market price and the current market value, and then my gain and loss, my percent gain loss, margin required. These are all just stock positions and things, no margin. You can show the beta if you like. I like to see the beta. What the beta is relative to what you've chosen here in the beta delta base. I usually use SPX or SPY for something like this. So you can see the SPY is always 1, because of course it's going to move exactly like the SPY. And then previously realized gain loss if you're using that. And it shows also for each position what percentage of my account is it. And then finally the last column I'm showing the date of update. I don't have this in all my accounts. Let me switch to one I called Hedge Finder. I've used this for some testing on Hedge Finder, and I'm not even sure why I have this particular format. But if I want to change it, I can come up here, and right here, if I hover, it should tell me. It says Format, Control F if I want to use a shortcut. Clicking on that will bring me to where I can do the formats of all my reports, including the status. And so you can see it's already highlighted the account status, and it's showing me what I'm doing now. I could sit here and choose which ones I want, like theta, and then use these little arrows to move it where I want it to be. However, if I have an account that I already know I like the format, all I need to do is click this copy from, choose that account, KFC Charities Inc., and say OK. Now you can see behind me the status, what it was. So now watch what happens when I hit OK. Boom. Switches right back to that format that I like. So now I have it in here. I'll kind of show why this is useful. You can set it up, as I said, in the quotes display, having a group with all of your positions in it. But you can also browse right from here, all your positions. You can open the matrix. I'll restore it down so you can see what it's doing in the background here in the account status. But here's ACN. Here's my position in it. Click Next. Now, you can just walk through and look at all my positions in this manner. But maybe even more useful, I can browse through things like the charts. So if I want to look at the price chart, maybe I also want to superimpose the volatility chart, make sure it's a daily chart. So here's Accenture, ACM, that have this, it's a collar. Next, I go to AET. So I can sit here and browse right through my charts of all my open positions, see where it is. Many times people might be using some of the technical indicators. So I could set it to, say, show my moving averages, stochastics, MACD. So now I can see my moving average, which is a 20-day moving average, and the MACD below it. Sit here and run through my charts of all my open positions. Now you notice that I have a few stock positions plus some combination positions. Once you begin using the account status, you'll find there's certain things that you might want to do. One is it automatically groups things according to our grouping rules. Our grouping rules are if the date and time are the exact same, say you're doing a spread and you convert the trade and it's got the same date and time, it treats it as a spread. It's like this EEM. But if you go and look at the T-log, and you find that EEM in here, you'll see I did do it at the same date and time. So it's grouped together. But now look at this Netflix. I have 100 shares of stock, and I sold a call against it, a covered call. So let's look at Netflix. This is a small T-log. But if I want to see everything I'm doing in a stock all at once, I could just sort by asset file, and you'll see it brought all of them together. So here's my Netflix. And you can actually see that I did buy the stock in February, but I did the selling of the call just today. The reason it's grouping it together is I use this recon code field, and I put an A in both of them. If I take that out, now you notice that it's no longer grouping it together. Now there's some advantages and some disadvantages of grouping or not grouping. Now one thing is from the quotes display, when I open a matrix like the Netflix matrix and I have this account selected, it's going to open with all of my positions in it. All the positions in this account will be in the matrix. However, when I double click to open a matrix from the status, it opens with only that one position that I clicked on. So you'll see it has the 100 shares here. I'll change this to existing position, but the call is not showing up. Ultimately, if I just click to open with this call, you see the call showing up, but the stock's not. That can be very useful if you have a couple different positions that you're keeping separate, such as maybe you have a butterfly and a call spread, and then you want to just go and look at each one individually. The way to do it is to come here in a status and just double click on the position that you want to look at. However, in this case, you mostly want to keep them connected. So I'm going to put those A's back in, group them together, force them to group together, and now it's treating it as a combination. Now, there are times when you still want to see things separate, and you have the ability to sort these positions chronologically, which means by the date you opened it. The oldest ones are first, the newest ones are at the bottom. You can also sort alphabetically by symbol. So you see that everything's still grouped together. This Netflix is still together, this Condor and Google. The last choice of sorting is by expiration. This one has the additional advantage of it always splits everything apart. If you ever want to see every individual item on its own, just simply sort by expiration. When this is especially useful is in the upper summary section here. There's a lot of important information like the account value, change since yesterday, position value, your buying power, margin requirements. Now, if it does not have a price on every one of these items, if it's even missing a price on one, it will not be able to calculate a lot of those fields. So if you see them blank, the thing to do is to come in here, sort by expiration, and start looking at when were they updated, and look at the market price and value. If it doesn't have a price, see if I can just get it to do it. No, 245 call. Let me go into Netflix, and what I'll do is I'm going to just delete all the pricing out of here. See if that will work. Unfortunately, it still remembers last one, but you would see an unknown in this market value if it cannot figure out a price or cannot find a price. Oftentimes, just simply double-clicking on it and opening the matrix to get it to update will be enough to fill it in. The other reason might be maybe you have a position and it's off. Maybe it's a 340 call and it's not defined. You would have to go to define options and come in here and maybe just add that manually so that you begin getting a price on it. Or, of course, you can use this by going to the very end, right-click on this arrow, and add a strike. And you can keep adding strikes that way by right-clicking on that arrow. Most people would normally want to see things grouped together, so we'll keep these grouped together. Now, this account status has another real important job in OptionVue, and that is, let me switch to something I have a history on. Every day when you open it and you get this account value, it writes this value, what's the value of your account, to a history file. That history file is used in the reports to do this performance graph. So this whole performance graph, this is you can have a daily reading every day of my account. Actually, I'll just show the actual account value. And you can go back all the way to when you first started. So I actually have over a 10-year history on this daily. You can see a big jump here. That was actually a deposit. And so the other interesting thing is that you can see how your account values change, and it says actually gone up 100% in 10 years. But then there's also another line to show your account value plus withdrawals minus management fees and deposits. So that takes out all the cash movements, withdrawals, deposits, etc. So you get an actual return on your investment. And so you can see that can be very different. This particular account, we're always spending about $30,000 a year in various grants and things, so there's always money coming out. Let me just look at a shorter, like just the last fiscal year. So you can see, just watching how your account did, it looks like your account's up 9.2% for this period. But your investment return was 13.2. The difference between this line and this line is just simply all the money that was dispersed, withdrawn from it. It will also affect things like your performance analysis and looking at things like your max drawdown, when you hit your lowest values, and your annualized return. So you can see this account has an annualized return 10.5% over the last 10 years. Now we'll show you by going into my computer, the Explorer. Sometimes you may want to come in here. If you go to the C drive where OptionVue is installed, OptionVue 7, you'll see there's a folder, Records. This Records folder holds all of your account records. Every one of them has a number of files, and one of them is that HST for history. So if I open this one, I haven't had much history on this. Just a little testing account I have. So you can actually come in here and say, oh, this should really be 103 or 100. You could actually just manually adjust it. All this file is a date, comma, account value. Someone asked me about the annualized return, and it's not compounded. It's just a simple annualized return. So if you get 100% in 10 years, it's going to say you have an annualized return of 10%. Oh, and I see now something from David, but I'll get back to that. And then you just have to say, yeah, save it. Here's the other account that we were looking at that has the longer history. And you can see it's quite a long file. I can go all the way to the end, and here's today. If something happened, like you got a bad price one day, and it's causing a weird spike in the graph, maybe because somehow it said 650 instead of 750, I just have to go in and change it, and it would be fixed. It also is why it's very important to go out and open your account status every day for every account, so that, especially near the end of the day or after the end of the market close, so that you can get an accurate reading every day of how you're doing. And the easy way to do that is we have an agent. You can schedule events to happen. You'll see that every day at 1600 I do an update of all my asset files. At 8 o'clock I do an update of all my price chart files. I do it then because we write and get the final price charts at about 7:20 Central Time. So it's not worth updating your price charts before 7:30 p.m. You could do them first thing in the next morning or after 7:30 that evening. Updating your asset files I like to do just to get final numbers in there and just make sure I have good volatility data and things no matter what. And you just have to do that after the market close sometimes, after 3:15 Central Time. But I usually have one other thing in here to run, and I took it out for this class so I could show you how to set it up. And that is to go up to File. There is a choice called Assess Accounts. Now, this is a feature I don't think is used very often, but it should be. And in Assess Accounts, it's going to go through, update every account, open the status and look at it and make sure you got data in there, and then it's going to write to that history file. And I'm going to just select every single account I have, and I'm going to do it now so you can see what happens as it runs through. There it goes. So it runs through. It's up to test. Had to update updating some asset files to make sure I have all the data I need, and it's done. So it runs through it pretty fast. But besides doing it right now, you can choose to do it at another time. And just like my updates of my asset files and price chart files, I do it every trading day. I do it at the same time as I get the updates of the asset files, the matrices, because then it's just going to combine them. It'll do them all at once. So you see it says event scheduled, And now you see I have an assess accounts every trading day at 1600. That way I can make sure that it's getting done every day. And it is important, though, that you have to have your program open for that to occur. Now, while I'm back here at the quotes display, I can just address David Stewart. He mentioned that when you're back testing, you can close the quotes display to test speed if you're only doing one symbol. So let's say when you're in BackTrader, and I'll go ahead and do it, I will choose some sample file, which I think is empty. Yep, it's empty. I just can't get to this behind this button. I can open up a file. So let's say I'm going to back test one of the indexes, like the SPX. So I can open the SPX Matrix. I'll switch to a little different format so I can see a little more. And then I can actually, because I'm not going to be using it at all, I'm only going to be using this matrix, I'll close my quotes display. Now when I go into BackTrader, and I'll go back to 1:15, about 11. I'll move a day ahead to Tuesday. This is just after Martin Luther King Day, it looks like, which would have been Monday. So now, every time I'm moving a day, you'll see this pop up saying it's updating right there. And all it has to do is update this SPX matrix. If I had the quotes display open, and now I move a day, see, it's updating the quotes display and then the SPX. So I probably keep 800 symbols, so it just slows it down that much more. So each time it's got to go through and update that quotes display. So if you're not really using the quotes display and you're doing trades in here and then maybe having the account status open once you have your positions, you can just walk through day by day. Now, it is important when you're doing this back testing and going through day by day getting the updates, they keep this account status open so that it writes that history that we were talking about, and you get like a nice performance graph of your trade over time. So let's go back and open our quotes display in real time. Let me just open status again, make sure I got everything I wanted. Well, I guess while I'm in here, and I showed you, I had this one account, Hedge Finder. I was kind of looking at it, and then I created this big Google Iron Condor. So it costs $100,000, taking up almost all the account. It's almost overwhelming everything else. And so Hedge Finder allows you to graph all your positions relative to sorry, I saw David just asked a question, what was the last tab I opened? And I'm not sure what he's referring to. Because I had been in the quotes display, and then I closed BackTrader, and then came back here to the status. I'm still not exactly sure what David's asking, but go back to status. In the Hedge Finder, it lets you graph your whole portfolio relative to a beta delta base. So I've chosen SPY here, but we could do it relative to the Q. You'll see next to each one of these, there is a little number, and that's the R squared. The higher the number, the better the fit it is. The Q is actually, the NASDAQ 100 is actually a little better fit, mostly because of all this Google, I'm guessing. But once you've chosen this and you have all your positions, all you need to do is hit this Hedge Finder button, and it's going to show right here what it looks like. Not looking real good. I just threw this on to look at it. You can actually see the entire portfolio looks kind of like an iron condor because of that one Google position overwhelming it all. And so it's showing you what your yield is at all various prices of the Qs. So more useful would probably to see what would happen if I did not have this big Google position in here. Unfortunately, I have this weird little thing that keeps getting in my way. It says I'm speaking. So let me go back in here and delete it again. Okay, now I can see it. So now that Google's gone in, I'll hit Hedge Finder again. This looks like a more normal type portfolio. I do have some option positions around the money, so you can see it's got a little kink in it. But one thing is, the line is showing you what we're calculating will be, where the portfolio will be, the percent change relative to percent changes in the Qs, in this case, yield by change in QQQ price. You could also do it profit loss rather than yield in dollars, and you could also do it by price rather than percentage move. So because you have various prices of the Q, how is your portfolio handling it? Now I'm going to close this and go back and look at these. And if you look at what's the highest, actually the Qs still are a little bit higher than the SPYs. So I will keep it on the Qs. And I'll show you, as long as we're in here, I'll run through real quick. You can say, well, what if I want to hedge my whole portfolio? Maybe just buy some Q puts to hedge my overall portfolio risk, even though I don't currently have any positions actually in the Q. And I can just click on this Find Hedge button and say I'm worried about in the next 6 months, I don't want to lose more than 5% in my portfolio. Then it'll say it's going to recommend puts to buy, and then it's going to ask, do you want to sell call credit spreads to help pay for the cost of the puts? It's basically doing a collar, except since I don't have a position in the Qs, it's going to sell call credit spreads, so I don't have to worry about the, the naked calls and the high margin associated with that. I'll just run it through without doing it. Just say, just recommend the best puts. It says, no options are available to cover the required time frame. I would have to open my Q matrix and see what I have. I'm not including leaps. I need longer term options in here to do that. Let me go back in and try it again. Find hedge, 6 months, 5%. No. It says I'm already sufficiently hedged to prevent a 5% decline. And if I look at this yield, see it's pretty hedged. Let's see where I'm at. I'm at about 45 minutes, so let me go back and look at these chats. Over here, I can go back for a second. We had a couple questions on when I was in the back testing and trying to show how to speed it up so that you don't have to update this whole quote display with. You can see I have about 281 symbols right now. If I go into BackTrader, and I will go back to, I forget where it was, 1911. Hit start. See, it updates my quotes display as soon as I go in. Now I'm going to open the OEX matrix about, and it updates that. Now I will store that down so you can see them both. But now as I move forward today, you'll see it says updating quotes display, and now the OEX. Now if I just close this quotes display, because the only thing I'm going to do in my back testing is use this OEX matrix, now every time I hit the D to go to the next day, it does not have to take the time to update the quotes display. It speeds it up a bit. You can also speed it up just a little bit more by using this immediate updates, because every time you click on that D to move it a day, it actually waits a few milliseconds, or I don't know exactly how long, but just a little bit to see if maybe you're going to click again. Maybe you want to move ahead 2 or 3 days. But with the immediate updates, you're telling it, no, I'm just going to move 1 day and then immediately update as soon as you can. And when I hit D, that's as fast as you can get through testing the OEX. So I was saying that now I could put in something like, say, I'll sell one of these and buy one of these and convert to trade. I could look at my status. Here's my position. Here's my matrix. I'll kind of set them up so you can see them both. I want to see the account value here. Unfortunately, I don't have a deposit in it. I'll put in $1,000. Just so I have some value here that's greater than 0. Actually, I should have made it just a little bit more because I don't have enough buying power for this. I'll make it 2,000. And now positive buying power and everything. Here's my existing positions here, and I'll move forward a day. See it change my value. Keep going. Just walk through day by day, watching what happens to it. Maybe I have some limit of when I'd make an adjustment, like I'm already down $100. But now I'm up almost $400, up $200. So this is how you can go through pretty quick. Now if I go into these reports and look at the performance graph, at least for the small time I've done, I at least have this each day by day for the last week or last 2 weeks or so. So we'll start creating that. Then once I get out of here, I can just close this, close the back trader. It will close the matrix. Now I'm back here, and of course I don't have a quotes display, so I need to go back in the window and open the quotes display, and I'm back in real time. Let's see. So hopefully I someone asked me about formatting reports for printing. I don't think there's any place to save a setting, no. One thing is that when you're printing on OptionVue the reports, not all, but the majority of reports really need to be printed in landscape mode. Print setup should be in landscape. So that might help because you can fit more columns on that. But the other question he had was, in the matrix, there is a shading, and it shows 1 and 2 standard deviation moves depending on the time. So this pink is within 1 standard deviation. This blue is 2 standard deviations, and then this is just outside 2 standard deviations. He's asking, where's the on-off switch for this? This is actually a setting that you can do under File and choose the first thing, Preferences. There's a number of settings here, and one of them is Matrix Shading is on by default. However, you don't actually have to go in there. It's a remembered setting. If I click on this S and turn off the shading in the matrix, Even when I go to another matrix, it is off. If I go back up to File Preferences, you'll see this matrix shading is unchecked now. So if I'm in like the SPY matrix and I start shading it, now when I go to another matrix, say Facebook or whatever that was, BMC, it's still on. If I go to File Preferences, it is on. So you basically can turn it on and off right from the matrix, and it remembers that setting. The legend, which is right there, that shows what's in each column, works the same way. You can do the setting under File Preferences, but just changing it in the matrix itself changes the setting. All right, let's see. What about the associated graphics analysis window position? I'm not sure what you mean, what about it? Let's see what I have a position in. If I'm in the account status, of course I can open a position. I can analyze it right here. You'll see that there was already a gain on the stock, and then I sold this collar, so that's why looks like you just can't lose, because you can't, because the stock already moved up. And so here's the graphic analysis associated with it. You cannot change the settings in it. Every time you reopen that from the matrix, it redraws it. And of course, as long as I'm in here showing the graphic analysis, if you set your matrix so it only takes up about half of the window, then this next button below this hide toolbar I showed you before is the linked analysis. And now you'll see that it's connected, these two windows. You can adjust this. And now if I make a change in here, like if I say, well, what if I also sell a call spread here, it's going to show the difference. It's going to show my initial position and now my new position right here. I can go back and forth. It changes this graph analysis. Here's the trade only. Here's my existing position. Here's what both would look like. Okay. See if I have any other questions. Okay. Julian's asking on the graphic analysis window, he says he has a shaded area, and that shaded area is a target. That target is saved in the matrix itself in the asset file. When you open an asset file, like a look at emerging markets, if I hit Analyze, I have the shaded area. This is my target that I've set. Now, let me just make this a little smaller to make it a little easier to see. But so here is my target. Here's my position. It's telling me when I look at it at expiration, June, over here is the target results. So it's telling me within my target range, I actually have a small negative expected return, plus or minus the standard deviation, and only a probability of profit of 25%. Now, if I click on this target, it switches to the bell curve. That's using the two standard deviations. If I can get a little bigger, you can see how two standard deviations would be this aqua line, 39.79 to 46.41. So you can see it looks a little better there. It's basically a 2/3 chance of making a profit. My expected return is 110 bucks, so positive. Now if I switch back to the target results, you'll see there is a TGT target button. It shows what I have set as my target. If I want to get rid of it, I could just switch it to something or delete out the prices and just say, okay, now it's gone. Now, there's a number of places you could set that target. One is in the price chart. Get rid of these indicators, and there is a bullseye here. And I can drag this out and say, oh, here's my target for slightly bullish. And I got my price range is the vertical, and the date range is the horizontal. And it shows right here what I'm setting my target for. So now, when I go back in here and I hit Analyze, that's the target I just set in my price chart, and it's remembering it. It also remembered in things like the Trade Finder. If I go in here and put the EEM in, I go to targets, it automatically brings in this target that I already have set. I can just hit, just look at some vertical spreads and hit go, and it's going to run through and using that target. All right. So that's a good question to ask because it is tied throughout the program. It's a useful thing, but then there are times when you might have set a price target a month ago and haven't looked at the asset file. Now you're analyzing a totally different position and things have changed. It's like, why is it shaded there? You can always go in the analysis, hit that target button and just wipe it out. All right, well, I think that got through all I wanted to. Hopefully you found that pretty interesting and saw some things that you don't normally see. I tried to do that anyway. And thanks so much for attending. As usual, we'll be converting this video and posting it to our video archive. All right, thanks so much for attending. Bye-bye.